Okay, here's what I'm saying. I went to Ghana in 97, 98, okay? Ghana, West Africa. And it was centered in Accra. My experience was centered in Accra, the capital on the southern coast of Ghana. Centralized as far as the coastline goes. A few trips to Tema, Gold Coast, Koforidua, Kumasi, Mole for and Tamale up in the northern country. That's where I went. There I was at. During that time, I traveled a couple times to Cape Coast. Cape Coast was a city up the way from Ghana, from Accra, the next big city. Cape Coast University is there. There's like 3 universities in Ghana. There's Legon, Kumasi, and Cape Coast. About the time I was there anyway. And so it was Cape Coast University. It was in Cape Coast. And they also had a castle there, Cape Coast. Cape Coast was just south, so it seemed. Actually, it's east or west, as you look at it. East or west of Elmina. Elmina, they have a castle there too, Elmina Castle. These are dungeons. They're castles on the outside, but they're dungeons on the inside. And I toured the castles. I spent a lot of time in there. Oh, near, between Elmina and Cape Coast, there's a man called One Africa who lived there, in a place called Iture, which means by the creek, by the river that flows out. This man would carry people across the river. And so that's what they named the town. They named him, they named the town. And Iture, that's where Cape Coast was at. That's where One Africa was at. He had, him and his wife bought land there. They're from New York. They're black Jews. There they were, repatriates. Good people. Salt of the earth, both of them. Her name was Amicus. I am Amicus something. And he was One Africa. Beautiful man. And he made boats. They bought some land about the size of half a city block. And they built a house. And they had round outbuildings out in the back. And the backyard ended up at the ocean. There was no fence back there. It was just the ocean. Lapping up in his backyard. There's the ocean in his backyard. Indian Ocean, whatever that ocean is there. I was in his backyard. You can see the other edge of his house faced north. And the 2 sides were left and were east and west. Because he was on the coast of Africa that faces south right along there, in Accra, basically. Anyway, I'm just reorienting myself because I always think in terms of north and south when I travel. Because I travel up and down the California coast. In Ghana, I was traveling east and west primarily, up to Kumasi and Tamale and Mole. Anyway, what happened? Oh, I was standing there in One Africa's yard. He built boats in his yard there. They'd bring a big log up in there and hollow it out and carve it out, cut it out and everything else until they had something that floated, and they'd push off in the water and go fishing. That was their act. Built some good ass boats too. And anyway, I was standing there one day. I don't know if he just launched a boat or just started to launch a boat. I don't know what the deal was. But I was looking at the coast, and if you look to your right, you see Elmina Castle. If you look to your left, you see Cape Coast Castle. I know how that was because I remember that. So that means it has to do with what was east and what was west. You're facing south. West is on your right. East is on your left. You're facing south. So anyway, I saw the coastline between the two. I was highly impressed by the castles because they were dungeons and they were extraction points. Highly likely one of my ancestors passed through one of these places. He or she didn't know that he or she would be my ancestor. He couldn't have known any more than I would have known that they were passing through at the time. I've been scared. I'm undoubtedly scared. Anyway, I thought about the chain of Africans that were going to those castles on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever it was, which castle they were being sold to, and then transported across the ocean to become Negroes. And I saw them on a chain. And I thought about, what about the other ones before that just passed that way, or even during that time? All the Africans that passed this coastline. It was kind of a fence line between him and his next door neighbor's yard. You could see there was some type of understanding where his yard ended, his neighbor's yard began, on both sides. The idea of where what not to go past. But there was no contention, obviously. And it was like a free pass along the coast. You go along the coast, you go along the coast. You walk the coast. Pathway down there, I guess. I didn't really check it, but I'm probably sure there's some kind of way people would know where to pass if they're going east or west on the coast, right along the coast. These are people that don't know and they don't give a shit. I mean, they're passing by, they're just passing by, leaving the fuck alone. But what I thought about was the people who passed by in bondage. I thought about the people who passed by not in bondage. They were just Africans. They were just human beings walking along that particular coast of the land on the planet at that time. Didn't know anything about the Atlantic slave trade, where part of it hadn't even happened yet. Okay? That was the thing. It hadn't happened yet. That's the key trick right there. Hadn't happened yet. It had, how long before it would happen could be 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Okay? It's been 3 or 4 or 5,000 years. Could have been 10,000 years before the Atlantic slave trade. I'm trying to take you back to a place far enough where you understand me that nobody on the planet is more than 52nd cousins. Nobody on the planet more than 52nd cousins that's alive. 52 generations back, if you can go that far, which I seriously doubt, you're going to find a common ancestor. There's nobody, anybody, any two people at all. You go 52 cousins back, you'll find a common ancestor. As far back as they were able to trace it. 52nd cousins. I'm talking about a person walking that coast who every person in America has in common. Every single solitary person in America. I don't care when you got here or where you came from. Person walking along that coast of that part of Africa that has all that we all have in common. Just wrap your mind around that. Think about that person, that humanoid, if you will, that individual. Think of what they knew. Try and imagine what they knew. Forget what they didn't know, because they didn't need to know it. It just clouded their mind. Know half the stuff you know, like who your address is, or where your kid's birthday is. Some bullshit like that. Just the fact that they were a human being And they were passing by. That's all. That's all. Okay, they went on somewhere. They were going to, so they finally laid down and fell apart. They died. Maybe somebody buried them, maybe they didn't. Maybe the wild animals came and ate them, drug them off, and ripped them to shreds. They walked out there on the line, just ran up, ripped them to shreds while they're still alive. Maybe a snake bit them when they got 100 yards down the path. The one that we all have in common, that is. So they died, and they're gone. Their parts went back into the mix. You think there's a stone somewhere, carving in a tree, or a split rock, or a carved rock, or something that says this person passed this way? You think so? That person in Ghana, 20,000 years ago, passed by that same place right there. I don't care if it was on the coast or not at that time. Maybe the coast was further out, maybe the coast was further back. Somebody passed that way before me. And it was just like me, just another nigger passing by that coast, standing there looking at that water. That's what came to me that day. Just another African. Basically, just another nigger. And that's alright. It's alright with me. You don't have to remember me. I was just another nigger.